Okay. All right. So I'm seeing on my clock here, we're at 6 after. And I want to go ahead and make sure we are getting started for everyone and being respectful of everyone's time. We're so glad you're here with us today. In the chat here and also in the background, we've also got Anthony Taylor, who's the CEO of SME Strategy, helping with some of the behind the scenes logistics. Anthony, can you just let us know how many people are with us here today on this call so far?
Yeah, we got three live in webinar and three on YouTube. So we're streaming on YouTube. What's up, everybody on YouTube? And of course, if you're not able to make this and you're watching the recording, it'll be available after.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Anthony. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just share a poll right now, and hopefully y'all can see this. It's got two questions in it, and it's just asking you to share as you're, joining us. Which of the following challenges, and it's set up for multiple choice, so select all that apply. Which of these are you navigating on your campus right now? And would love to just get a sense for what kinds of things you are seeing in your worlds, things that we know are happening across the higher ed landscape, but what's happening on your campuses? Which of these are you seeing? And if there's something we missed, you can go ahead and in question two there, pop that in as well, pop in an other response. But let's just give folks a minute to share what are some of the biggest challenges you are facing on your campus these days. All right, yeah. Votes have come through just now for finances, student well-being, tech and AI, justifying the value and ROI of a degree. Yeah, absolutely. Get those votes in. Let's see what all of the uncertainties and challenges are that your campus is seeing these days. We'd love for this to be as interactive a webinar as possible. We do have the chat open as well, so don't hesitate to use the chat function to communicate with us while we're here together today. We'll be here together until 1 p.m. Eastern time, so we're scheduled for a full hour for this webinar. We're going to share a lot of great information with you today. So it looks like two folks have mentioned, oh, okay, now we've got three in. That's fantastic. Yeah. So now we've also got politics coming through as a challenge that at least one person is seeing on their campus as well. So it looks like in some way, shape, or form, all of the or many of these options that we've put out there are true on your campus these days as uncertainties or challenges. I guess uh, good news in this is that you're not alone. We are riding all of this wave together, aren't we? So awesome. We'll just give you another 30 seconds or so if you'd like to share if there's another option that we missed that we didn't note here and you'd like to share it. Go ahead and pop that into the other response function right there. But in just a couple seconds here, I'm going to close this poll and we'll take a look together at what our final results are. All right, so let's share that. So you should be able to see now what folks on this call have shared. So thanks so much for responding here. So we're seeing tech and AI being one of the highest vote getter on today's call so far, and finances, student well-being, politics, justifying the value or ROI, return on investment of a degree, all as challenges that you're navigating on your campus right now. So again, thank you so much for participating there and giving us a sense of what you're facing. I do have one more question for you, and I'd love for you to pop it into the chat if you're able. And that is, what would you say of these is the actual biggest problem that you are facing or biggest challenge you are facing. So when you look at these, if you had to pick one, if you would share with us sort of like what is that top number one? Because I think many of you chose several here, or a few at least. So if there's one in particular that's just like absolutely jumping out of you as at you as ahead of all of the others, feel free to pop that into the chat. It's just, I think it's so important. And one of the things we try to do at SME Strategy is sit in curiosity, and really understand what obstacles are facing, various industries. And in particular, right now, higher education's having such a moment. And I am, as a former higher education professional, very curious about what is going on in higher education and how institutions can navigate some really uncertain waters right now. So understanding where you're at, what you're dealing with, certainly is interesting and helpful to me, and is why we're here today. Thank you for being here today. This is a webinar, one webinar in a series that we've designed on strategic planning in higher education. I'm your host, Jen Scumaci. I'm a senior facilitator at SME Strategy. And today I'll be in conversation for at least part of this webinar with Olin Garrett. And I'll introduce Olin in just a moment, but you can see him here with me now as well. So thanks for being here, Olin. I'm also in the chat going to drop my direct contact information in case anyone would like to. I hope we can stay in touch following this session. And if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, anything you want to share, we're here. So, thanks so much again for being here with us. Again, I think if nothing else, this webinar should hopefully remind you that whatever challenges you are facing, other campuses are going through this same stuff. And there are organizations here available who can help you navigate through this. I firmly believe, and I wouldn't do the work I do if I didn't believe this, that we are stronger when we collaborate and when we look around and see how we can help each other get through uncertainty. And so I also think this is an opportunity for us to offer new ways to look at challenges so we can see opportunities together, and really, not just, work in the best interest of our own campuses and our own entities, but also, for higher education as an industry as a whole, on the whole. So, in my current role at SME Strategy, I have been looking specifically at higher education lately, and we've really been, as a team, taking a look around the landscape. And we know that you're facing some storms right now. We are here today to not only be in conversation together about these challenges and some of the solutions, but also to offer you some of the ways that SME Strategy specifically can help, and the way that we are helping some institutions navigate some of these challenges and waters right now. So, on that note, I believe the question before y'all, and this is a picture. It was a GIF in my active live presentation, but I've since downloaded this to be able to present it. This is cats trying to stay on a treadmill. So like, sorry that that GIF's not working right now, but like Google cats stepping on a treadmill, and it's actually pretty funny how they're trying so hard to just stay focused and stay on this thing as this thing keeps moving underneath them. And ultimately, that's the question before y'all right now, right? How do you effectively plan when the ground keeps moving beneath you, right? So that's the central question that we're going to help explore together today. So we're going to discuss how are peer institutions navigating today's toughest challenges, how and why alignment is central to an effective strategic plan, and offer you some practical tools and a framework that you can take rolling right off of this call and use immediately, to help you consider building, or to help you build a strategic plan that helps you navigate change. So as I've said, with me today is my friend Olin Garrett. Olin is the Associate Vice President of Student Affairs at Temple University. And he is also the president-elect for Akuho I. So Olin, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here with us today.
Jen, thank you for the invitation. Good to be with you and good to be with everybody that's on the webinar today.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So Olin, would you please begin by giving us a brief intro to you by sharing your specifically by sharing your why. So, like why do you work in higher ed? Why, how did you come to be here? Why student affairs and housing? Why is this work important to you?
Well, we student affairs professionals have difficulty talking about ourselves, and certainly, and certainly will navigate. So I'll try to be as brief as possible. But let me just start by saying nobody goes into higher education thinking or grows up thinking I'm going to be a higher education professional or student affairs professional when I grow up. And certainly, that was not the case for me. I thought one of two roads was going to happen for me growing up. I was either going to go and follow my parents' footsteps and work in state government in Illinois because they were longtime state government employees, or I was going to teach higher ed. I was going to teach geometry, excuse me, high school geometry.
Oh,
Neither
cool.
one of those things worked out very well for me for reasons that we won't worry about in this call. But I ended up going to school at a small liberal arts college in West Central Indiana, DePauw University. And what I found myself falling in love with was my time in residence hall student government, like being involved in student leadership. And one of the things I really noticed and paid attention to was the way that advisors at school and advisors in the other student government association I was dealing with were pouring in. And a lot of who I am as a person, as a professional, even today, now having been in this field 25 years as of the end of June, is because of what I learned late back then. So I got into student affairs and really the housing in order to work with student leadership, but also out of a tremendous sense of duty to pay it forward and to serve and give back in the same way that the development and people poured into me. There was an opportunity to pour into others and to pour into the students that came behind. And so that's why I got into the field. What I came to love about student affairs and housing is the transformative nature of student housing. From a overall perspective, housing is the one area that touches many other areas of the institution in a hybrid way, touches conduct, touches finance, touches operations. So you learn a lot by working through these large operations, but also because many of the things that happen to our students in terms of their engagement and development start at housing. It's the first time they've lived by themselves. It's the first time they've navigated what it means to be a member of a community. We teach people the lessons that help them to start being good members and good citizens beyond. And so that's my why. My why has evolved a little bit now because what I do at Temple now, while I still work with housing and I work with our campus recreation folks in health and well-being, I now work with making sure that the processes, procedures, operations that we need to sustain folks on the front line working with students is resourced well, and it's what people need to be able to move forward. So my why now is about making sure people have what they need to be able to effectively serve our students and serve the institution. So that's a little bit about my why.
I love that. Oh my gosh. And so much of it that I can personally relate to as well. I got to college and loved being an RA, loved being a resident
Mhm.
assistant, and didn't know that was a thing. And so, as soon as I fell in love with it, knew I had to shift into this field and be in this field, at least for a little bit. Yeah, so I can so relate to that. And I can so relate to the evolving nature of that why and appreciate your role now in, as you said, sort of being looking at resourcing the structure, processes, systems to support how higher ed, how specifically Temple, but right, you do a lot of work, obviously, across institutions and support them in, doing their best work strategically, ultimately, to be able to best serve
Mhm.
students, right? And so that's the part that I want to kind of pick your brain on. I don't love that term, but like for lack of a better term, that's what I want,
Sure.
where I want to go next. I want to ask you, to share with everyone and folks who are here with us, if you have questions too, feel free to drop them into the chat. And or if you hear something you relate to and want to share, we want to hear that too. But so Olin, my next curiosity is, and especially because I've had the opportunity to work with you in this capacity
Mhm.
of helping to equip specifically the Division of Student Affairs at Temple University with
Mhm.
strategic processes, systems, structure to move forward your strategic plan.
Mhm.
You and I have had some conversations as we've gotten to know each other, not just about how important that is and what the challenges are that Temple University is facing, But what some of the challenges are that the larger field is facing, right? That the field of higher ed is up against right now. And so I'm curious about the state of higher ed as you see it, and what some of the things you see as you work across campuses, maybe in your role in a KUHOI or in other
Mhm.
organizations. Like, what are you seeing? What are some of the biggest challenges you see ahead, maybe in the next 3 years, for the industry, for college campuses? And, I think, what are some of the specific ways that you're seeing some of these bigger challenges play out on college
Mhm.
campuses right now?
I think the question, we can start by saying this two ways. Um, where would you like to begin? Or do you have the opportunity to add half an hour to this webinar? And part of the reason I say that, we are at a point. I think we're at a real inflection point for higher education moving forward, based on what I'm seeing. We have a number of different challenges that are all coming together at the same time and navigating the same way. We've got changing demographics, individuals who are coming and students who are coming into our institutions. And with those changing demographics come changing and evolving student needs that have become much more complex. We are dealing with mental health issues. We are dealing with greater need on the academic front. And so we are being asked to stretch more resources to be able to help navigate those changing students. We are dealing with financial pressures. We are dealing with workforce changes and the state of our workforce, and I'll talk about it in a little bit. I think we're dealing with all of that in the context, though, of what is a crisis of confidence in higher education. People are asking real questions about what the value of higher education is, what the worth of higher education is, why does it matter? What is the benefit to me in return on investment of coming into college, and what are the outcomes that are related to that? And I think we're all trying to figure out how to answer those questions, right? What am I getting? Faculty and staff are tired in that vein as well, right? We've continued since the pandemic. We have been through years of constant disruption, constant change, starting with COVID-19, now with changes in political and legal administration that are causing challenges. And so, while we've always been asked to do more with less, we are now having to move in such a way, almost in whiplash, to figure out how to navigate that. I will also say that we are being asked to do that in a field, in an industry that is being pushed to innovate and is being pushed to change. I work at a campus where my president, John Fry, during a strategic planning exercise for the campus, said higher education no longer has the luxury of time. And so we are now, because the pace of change has quickened, because innovation has quickened, we're being asked to move more quickly, to be more nimble. And I don't think it's enough for us to simply say, we don't have the money, we don't have the people, so we can't do it anymore. We now have to be more assertive about what we are prioritizing, what we're about, and what we're saying we're going to do. I pulled up, it's interesting, I went back to a KUHOI work because, and I'll frame it in this, but it's very applicable to everything that we are all doing in higher ed. We talked a couple of years ago out of the pandemic and created an initiative about what were the things that were going to be most important, the 8 imperatives that were most important for student housing moving forward, that we need to address in the medium term and the long term. We called it the Future of the Profession Initiative. But when you listen to some of the imperatives that are here, you're going to see all of it. You're going to hear communicating the value of campus housing. We're talking about the value proposition of higher education. How do we build belonging and well-being? We're talking about that for our students. Facilities. How do we deal with deferred maintenance and dealing with aging facilities? How do we work with strategic collaborations and partnerships? Because we can no longer do this in a silo, and we can no longer wait to launch things for grand reveals and finished products. We have to do things now. We literally have to build the plane and launch the plane and fly the plane while we are building it. How do we support the mental health of community members, students, staff, etc.? How do we transform the higher ed business model and make we're dealing with issues of affordability and housing insecurity, workforce sustainability, and then how do we continue to learn as an organization? So when you hear from the housing perspective, it's like, okay, I get it. But all of this, this is really a microcosm, I think, of what we're seeing across the board. And I think there's an expectation that we're going to somehow deliver the same high touch experience for students and faculty and staff with fewer resources. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. So we have a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And I feel like I remember there was one conversation you and I had too, where we talked about this a whole other layer too, which is this like duty of foresight, right?
That's
Like
right.
not
That's
only
right.
to deal, not only to like deal with all of these now issues, but also all of the tomorrow issues, and to have the duty to be able to look forward to what's coming at us, and be able to manage that stuff too, right?
And I will say a little bit of, to be vulnerable and share a little bit of learning about this, right? For us in the student affairs division of our institutions, like we got into this because of student development, student engagement, taking care of and advocating for the student voice. As I have moved up the ladder and now in this day and age, that's not to say that that's not important, and the advocacy is important, but there is so much more we have to do now in terms of strategic positioning and alignment. That's really important. One of the things that we've been talking about at Temple as far as our strategic planning process is how do we move the division more centrally to what the need and institutional mission for Temple University is, and how do we create a plan? Not that this is necessarily an advertisement, but how do we create a plan that is distinctively Temple?
Yeah.
And differentiates Temple. And so we've been having that conversation to spend a lot more time having to learn a strategic positioning piece for an alignment piece for us. And I think that's been an important detail.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. Well, and kind of leads me into, what my final question is for you, that
Yeah.
I'm curious about, which is like, what are you doing? And how are you navigating these challenges as a higher ed professional? Like, I know
Yeah.
obviously, Division of Student Affairs at Temple is it deep in strategic planning right now,
Mhm.
as is all of Temple University, right? Like y'all are on a bigger strategic planning journey, and the DOSA, Student Affairs division, fits within that, and is a big part of that.
Mhm.
Um, and like, so like what, for the folks that are on this call today, what are some of the things that you can share that have been helpful for you in navigating that? And
Yeah.
what are some things that you would just offer as, general solutions to some of these challenges that higher ed's facing right now?
I think we've got a couple of things to think about. One is this alignment to institutional mission, the alignment of why is particularly important, particularly in a place where everything is shifting. You've got to maintain fidelity to mission, right? And so how do you do that? Thinking about how we align to that, right? It's great if you're off doing things that have a mission, vision, and purpose, but if you're over here in left field and your campus is over here in right field, we're out of alignment. And so we've got to absolutely come back to getting aligned and getting in step with each other institutionally, divisionally, departmentally, about what we are doing, and personally about what we are doing and how we navigate that. When you do that, what you do is you give people the opportunity to focus on what's really important. You give people an opportunity to focus the energy on what actually moves the needle, and you give people a greater connection to sense of purpose, which is very important. Our staff want to know that they're doing something greater. So that's one. Second thing I think we have to do is I think we've got to spend some time investing in people. One of the things that we are dealing with in terms of our staffing and burning out is in a landscape where we see higher education changing, not just in terms of what the responsibilities are in terms of the complexity of the work that we are doing, but also in the fact that higher education does not enjoy the job security that it once did. It means, right? It means that people are now having to do multiple jobs, more interim appointments, maybe take on greater sets of responsibilities. And that means we need to spend some time investing in our people. We need to spend some time upskilling and engaging in professional development to sustain the workforce. We have to look at the work we are doing and be more mindful about workloads and what is happening. We also have to help people disconnect and engage in self-care. So, and this is really important. It's not just about what we do, it's about the culture we create in which we do that, which is really important. And so, if folks are exhausted, disconnected, unclear about direction, it's just not going to work. I have a colleague here who I work with every day, Brandon. He says there is no student experience if you have no staff to deliver it. And so I think that's a really, really important piece. And then the last piece is understanding that we can't all do this in a silo. We can't do it alone. We really do have to spend some time looking at our collaborations and our partnerships. We're gonna have to do more things in an interdisciplinary nature, whether it is with faculty, with staff, how, what have you. We're gonna have to figure that out. We're gonna have to figure out how to use data more to help us understand exactly what we're doing, and not just individualized data, but big data. I will say one of the things that we are learning about in assessment is, and which is tough for student affairs professionals, but in higher ed, but we need to do it. We need to spend more time talking about what are our key metrics and what are our key performance indicators. And some of that needs to be more direct in the assessment, and some of that needs to be not just about the qualitative, but we're gonna be called for more quantitative in that too. So figuring that out. And then the adapting, like we can't spend time waiting for finished products and grand reveals sometimes. We are in an age where we probably need to start launching something at 40, 50, 55%. Say, here's what we're doing, see where we're at. And if it doesn't work, you can always tweak it and move it along. But waiting for 100% now, we are moving at a pace where if you wait till 100% to do something, by the time you launch it, your students may have in a different place, your institution may be in a different place, and it's beyond. So we've got to figure out how to adapt quickly. Higher ed is going to be about people who can stay aligned, stay nimble, and stay human-centered as they lead through change. I mean, that's really, really where we're going to be, and I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think you said it perfectly. I literally have nothing I would add that would make what you just said any more, emphasized. Exactly. And I see some folks, well, Patrice is agreeing with you in here, particularly on the mission-centric piece. So yeah. Olin, thank you so much for making the time to share some of your perspectives as you see it, at an institution and as someone who's really in service of the whole industry. And I'll leave the chat open in case there's any other questions that folks want to share or any other thoughts folks want to share as we continue through here. But Olin, I'll say thank you so much for spending this bit of time with us, again sharing your perspectives. I really appreciate you.
Happy to do it. Happy to be on the call with you. Thanks to
Yeah.
you for inviting me, and thanks to everybody that was there today. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So y'all, we've got some more stuff that we want to share with you as indicated here in what we'll discuss today. So yes, this is an absolute opportunity for us to share in how and what challenges we're navigating right now. And what I want to use the rest of this time to share with you is how and why alignment is central to an effective strategy to future-proof or future-ready your campus, given all of the change that the industry is seeing right now, as well as, again, some practical tools and a framework you can use in your planning efforts. So I want to start and back up with, I think it's pretty clear that higher ed is going through it right now. And again, what I want to offer for the rest of our time today is that the only way out is through, and that there are orgs and people here who you can connect with to help you through. And on behalf of SME Strategy, I want to just genuinely and authentically say we are one of those organizations. There are a ton of tactical frameworks, processes, different approaches you can use in terms of creating a strategic plan or a strategy to help you navigate some of this stuff. But what I will say to you today is that the only approach that will truly equip you to succeed effectively together has to be rooted in and focused on alignment, right? So consider that everyone on your campus, on your leadership team, everyone teaching in your classrooms, your people on your board of trustees, your students, anyone working with your students, right? Everyone is experiencing everything coming at you in a variety of ways. And everyone has a different idea of what good looks like when it comes to navigating these things. And what we see at SME Strategy as we work with organizations of all shapes and sizes is that this is a general human experience. And this is the number one problem we help organizations and teams solve. We call it the multiple destination trap. And the way that we help people solve for the multiple destination trap is by focusing on alignment, by helping teams get aligned and clear on one destination. So we help people move from this guy over here on the left to this one destination model that you see here on the right. And this includes making sure that there is a clear and aligned mission that describes who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. And when I say clear and aligned, I mean that your key players, everyone on your team, and through cascading, in essence, your whole campus is engaged in this conversation and this alignment, right? That you have a clear and aligned vision or destination for the future that describes success. That you have a clear and aligned set of values and behaviors that drive how you act together and that are in alignment with where you want to go. That you have a clear and aligned set of strategic priorities and only 3 strategic priorities, right? Because they are priorities. And if you have more than 3 of them, then they tend to not be priorities. So if you have 3 strategic areas of focus, you know exactly where to focus your time, energy, resources, right? And then lastly, a clear and aligned plan that supports all of this, that has SMART goals and actions that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound with clear accountabilities that so that you know when you achieve them, you are driving forward through your vision, right? And so I want to share with you, and feel free to take a screenshot of this. We'll also be sending this out in replay so that you can access it. But this is the exact strategic planning agenda that we use when we work with teams to create their strategic plans. And this is the way we facilitate teams to create a clear and aligned one destination that will help you navigate and navigate the current moment and future proof your teams, your institutions. So basically, we do this over 2 or 3 days in person, and we facilitate conversations with your team so that you can fully participate together. But if you want to do this internally, these are the 5 key questions you can ask and answer with your teams. And these are the key activities underneath each question to use to be able to effectively address these questions. So, first question, we start with, where are we now? We take stock of what's going on internally and externally in the current moment, right? So we start with celebration because it helps us recognize that we can do hard things together and that we've done a lot of things where we've won together already, right? We also do a SWOT scan, so an analysis of where are we in terms of our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And what does the external landscape look like? And to do that, we use what's called a PESTLE analysis. And PESTLE stands for political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. And so we run teams through an analysis where we can all get on the same page about how we see the external environment shaping over the course of the next few years, right? So over 3 years, what do all the political trends look like and how are they going to impact us, etc. To make sure we're all seeing not where the puck is, for those of you all who are hockey fans. I know there's at least a couple of you on this call, but where is the puck going? Okay, that's where what we want to understand so we can see that together. Then we start to unpack where are we going? Okay, so what is our mission and our vision? So, what is our mission in terms of, again, who are we? What do we do? Who do we do it for? And what is the one vision, one destination for success where we are headed? Once we know where we are and where we are going, then we unpack what might get in our way. And we have 2 specific areas we focus on here. We talk about values and behaviors because those can be risks, right? We need to make sure that we have the right values and behaviors to drive us forward toward our vision and eliminate those that potentially could hold us back. And then we do a risk analysis with teams where we list every risk and roadblock that can get in our way, and we rate them based on impact and likelihood. And we see which of those risks float to the top. Then we say, okay, well, next question. Based on where we are, where we're going, and what might get in our way, what do we need to do? And so here is where we identify what 3 strategic priorities we need to focus on such that we can drive this plan forward and drive forward toward our vision. And then we set the supporting SMART goals so that we know exactly where to put our time, focus, resources, energy, and what milestones and accomplishments we need to see to be able to drive us to our vision. The last bucket here is how will we implement our plan, right? And so we spend time exploring what does action planning look like? What are the actions we need to put in place to drive this plan forward? And what do our communications need to look like to support this plan moving forward? So you can take this template right here and use it as a starting point in your planning to help you develop a future-proof, future-ready plan to help you not only navigate the current moment, but to help you see what's coming together so that you can face what's coming together. Okay, so when you zoom out and look at this as a whole process, that agenda gets you this one destination, a clear and aligned one destination for the future, that triangle in the middle. But when you look at this as a whole process, there are other steps or pieces of the process that bookend that, right? And so these are other considerations for you as you are looking to future ready your campus. And so one of those consideration is your inputs. What are all of the things you need to collect in order to have all of the information you need to create the best strategic plan for your future, right? And so one of the most primary examples here is stakeholder engagement. And so in essence, who are the key stakeholders on your campus or within or related to your department or division that you need to speak with in order to understand their perspectives so that you're not creating your strategic plan in a vacuum. So consider that there's a whole slew of stuff, a whole slew of people you need to talk with to be able to get those perspectives to feed into your plan. And also, past plans you want to pull in as inputs. Maybe you have some market research, specific to doing your trend analysis. You might be able to collect some specific information as well as inputs. So all of that piece of this, the preparation phase and the input phase, is important to consider as well. Then there's the actual strategic planning, which I've already walked you through, right? And right now we are recommending, for the most part, 3-year strategic plans because 3 years is long enough to feel strategic and short enough to feel actionable. So consider that when you're scoping out how you're going to develop your strategies. And then consider this third arm, which is planning for implementation, actual strategic implementation. And this is not just about, moving forward in the progress of your plan, but it's also about the systems, investing in the systems and processes you need to have in place to successfully implement. And Olin spoke to that already, and how that's sort of the I he has and the why he has now in his role. Because remember, a 3-year strategic plan, which usually takes like 2 to 3 days to facilitate in person, full days, is 1,100 days of implementation on the back end, right? And what we see is people put so much consideration into the planning, the 2 and 3 days of planning, but not as much consideration into the back end, the 1,100 days of implementing. And it's so important to consider on the front end of planning what that will take in terms of time, money, human resources, all of that stuff to actually effectively implement and sustain, because 1,100 days is a marathon. Sustain implementation energy, right? So things like continued alignment, clear accountability structures, clear communication practices, having systems in place to track and monitor and report on the progress of your plan, fostering a strong and aligned culture to support your plan, and change management practices that will help you effectively navigate the change your plan is creating. Because no matter which way you cut it, a strategic plan is about creating change, right? So consider that this isn't just about creating a plan. This is about a bigger process that creating the plan is just a part of. And this kind of thinking is how you position yourself to be future ready and future proof. So rolling off of this webinar, we're going to share with you, of course, as I said, this recording, and we'll make sure that you have all of the information, but also know that it lives on our website at smestrategy.com. And we've actually even got a specific page that addresses you all, higher ed professionals, where we take this and break this down within the higher education industry. And so I just dropped into the chat that link for you as well. And I want to call out one thing specifically that you'll see when you visit this page, which is a free strategic planning and higher education checklist. And it leads you through, in essence, 5 buckets. So this is the bug that you'll see if you go to that page and you scroll down. You'll see this here on the page where you can just click on where it says get the checklist, and it'll come up for you as a download. And this is a little thumbnail of what it looks like. But in essence, it breaks down 5 buckets for you to consider on the front end of creating a future ready strategy for your campus. And so those 5 buckets address your purpose and your readiness, your scope and your structure, the inputs and the context of your plan, your timeline and resources, and what success and accountability looks like. And so this is we're calling it a pre-planning and discovery checklist. And on the right-hand side, that's what it looks like in thumbnail form. But it actually like leads you through the things to be thinking about. Things like how ready are we to really create a plan for our future? And what do we need this plan to actually accomplish? And various considerations in terms of scope, structure, inputs. What data points do you need to make the best strategic planning decisions? Whose insights and perspectives are crucial in the process? What does your timeline look like? How will you resource all of this? And it really challenges you to think critically and strategically on the front end about what your real markers for success are. Like, what do you really need a plan to do for you? What does being future ready and future proof really look like on your campus? And what's all of the stuff you need to put in place to support that success? So I hope you'll visit this website. I hope you'll download this resource. I hope you'll take this resource to your teams and use it as a conversation tool. And we hope that you'll stay in touch with us and let us know how we can help you as you're navigating all of this and as you're looking to pull together a plan to make sure that you are ready for what's coming and that you are able to drive alignment on your team right now to not only navigate what you're facing right now, but so that you can practice and build the muscle of alignment so that you can be ready so that you're, let's call it, let's say 2030, you're looking 2030 in the face and you're like, we are ready for that. We are ready for whatever 2030 is going to bring us because we are aligned, because we have implemented this process and we are stronger because of it. We know the landscape and we've got a plan and we know how to align and we are ready to face this future together. So hopefully these resources between, an overall view of the process, an in-depth look at what a strategic planning agenda, could look like for you and your campus, and this checklist, all as, opportunities for you to have these tactical resources to begin bringing these to your campus and having these conversations. Hopefully these have all been helpful for you and will be helpful for you as you navigate this future. So we threw a lot at you in the last 40, 45, 48 minutes here. I'd love to know and hear from folks in the chat. What questions do you have? What have you seen here that maybe has brought up new or different questions for you? How can we help you before you leave today's call understand any of these components in a way that will make you be able to really bring this back to your campus and use them effectively? What else is on your mind? How else can we be helpful? And happy to just leave a moment of or two of silence here for you to collect your thoughts and pop those into the chat for us. Oh, and I'll also call out as well that we've got Anthony Taylor in the back end here from SME Strategy, who has also got us on a YouTube live stream. So Anthony, if there's anyone in the YouTube live stream who's offering anything, please feel free to bring that stuff forward for us to talk about as well. Okay. As you're collecting your thoughts, maybe ready to share anything with us here in the chat, I also want to again pop in my name, my role, our website, and my email address and my LinkedIn page are in here for you as well, because I hope you'll stay in touch rolling off of today's webinar. And I don't see any other questions or any thoughts from anyone in the chat. We'll go ahead and wrap up here today for this. Oh, actually, here we go. We have someone coming through. Part of the struggle is managing change while trying to stay strategic and not reactive. Thoughts? Haha, yes. Kind of similar to what Olin said earlier. Do you have an extra half hour? Happy to continue this conversation in all seriousness offline. Patrice, thanks for that question. But yeah, that is part of the struggle. Because you have to be reactive. You have day-to-day operations that you have to address. You do not have a choice, right? However, what I would offer is make time for strategy. So the struggle is managing change and staying strategic while also balancing the day-to-day and the putting out of fires and the reactions. One of the biggest things that is successful for teams that we see is putting strategy on your calendar. Make the time for strategy now and do not negotiate that. Because when you make the room for the strategic conversations, it also allows you to, let's say, collect the dots and connect the dots. So you can see what's going on around you and align on the landscape, as well as connect the dots in that landscape to talk about how might you need to realign or reconfigure your reaction, your reactivity, and your day-to-day operations in support of a larger purpose and strategy. And one of the things we do for teams when we work with them in implementation is we offer operational alignment sessions. And these sessions are specifically designed to help teams connect dots between their operations and their strategy. So we come to the table with the intentionality of saying this day-to-day stuff is happening. We're having to put out fires in all of these ways. Let's get explicit about what that looks like and on the same page and see the same picture of what it's taking in terms of time, resources, energy, all of that stuff. And let's talk about how can we effectively navigate this in alignment together in the context of a larger purpose, right? So continuing to work together and digging in and not compromising the time to make prioritizing time for strategy is my short response to that question there. So thanks for that, Patrice. I also want to invite Olin back to the conversation. I know he's sticking around and he said he'd be happy to weigh in as well. And then I'm also seeing something in the chat from Neha, so we'll go to that next. But yeah, Olin, what would you like to share?
Yeah, Jen, you actually, you actually beat me to the punch. If it is something that it is a priority for you to be strategic to move forward, you have to carve the time. We live in a world right now where we can really be subject to the tyranny of the immediate, and we can let the tyranny of the immediate cause us distractions. But you really do need to carve the time and the thinking space to be able to navigate that. And I would also say, to some extent, you may also consider whether or not you carve that time away from your office or in some other place where it gives you the ability to be able to think and put you in that frame of mind or space that helps you philosophically be able to do that. One of the things that I have learned in this whole process that we're working on right now is it is absolutely essential because of all the work that has to be done to navigate strategic planning. I now have 2 2-hour blocks in my schedule every week for strategic planning. And even if one gets co-opted, like an hour or two, the other one does not. Because you will find if you do not carve the time for strategic planning, you will go from being proactive to reactive very quickly. And you will go from being ahead to behind very quickly. So carving out the time, finding the space, making some intentional effort to really think through and give yourself the headspace to think through that is particularly important. So I just wanted to echo that message.
Thank you for that, Olin. Yeah, when you told me a few weeks ago that you had particularly carved those time blocks out on your calendar, my little strategic planning heart did a cartwheel. Because I think that's it. It's making strategy a priority because otherwise you'll always be in firefighting mode. Always. Right? So thank you for echoing that. I'm also seeing here in the chat, Nia says, working closely with, in terms of accreditation, ensuring HR programs are prepping students not just for today's workplace, but for tomorrow's workplace, right? So I'm curious about how curriculum is evolving and how curricula is evolving. Olin, do you have any thoughts or insights you might be able to share on that? Or anyone else on the call, if you have any thoughts and would like to share them in the chat, would love to hear it.
I can share based upon my institution, based on what we're seeing. The tech AI piece, particularly of Nia's question, is particularly important at this moment across our institutions. Everybody is struggling, trying to figure out how to incorporate and use AI in their programs, and to do so ethically, and to do so in an era of data security and data privacy. And so people are really trying to move. And we've got some institutions that are further along about this than others. But I will tell you that there are a lot of people still catching up to AI, and there's a lot of early adopters right now in terms of that. But we know that there are quite a few institutions that are trying to answer this question in this day and age. Some people are just also, I will just say, even trying to catch up to what AI is in this circumstance. AI has proliferated itself in overall in the space now for a number of different functions, and people, I think, are just trying to catch up to what is it like. I think people are just even trying to catch up to the fact that we're still with ChatGPT and Gemini and those ones. And we now got Claude. We've now got the ones that do academic research like Perplexity. We now have Image. We now have ones that do presentations. Everybody's trying to catch up right now to that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, Neha, hopefully that just again echoes that we're all going through this right now. And what I would really offer, like, I just love what you stated here, that as the profession shifts, as HR shifts, the education for tomorrow's HR professionals need to shift as well. Right. And so that is a whole other layer of what higher education and accreditation institutions are facing right now, in terms of preparing the workforces of tomorrow, right? So yeah, I mean, staying on top of the trends is not easy. But when it's not easy and when it feels like it's moving faster than we are, again, what I would offer is pull in the people who are watching and paying attention and listen. Ask them questions, get aligned, get the perspectives on the table. No one's going to survive this alone. No one's going to survive this by using Chat GPT to understand AI. We are going to survive this and come out on the other side thriving, because we bring people to the table and we converse and we ask the hard questions and we go out and we find the answers and we align perspectives and we stay in active alignment and we fight for active alignment with each other. That's the way that we're going to future proof all of this together. So on that note, I think we'll end there today. And it was so great to be in community with y'all today. I really just so much appreciate the conversation in the chat. Olin, just so much appreciate you. Thank you again so much for being here with us today. I hope y'all will stay in touch, and I hope that we can find ways to continue supporting each other as we all navigate these storms together. So thanks so much. If you take these templates or tools or information back to your campus, drop us a line, let us know how it went. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.